Went a lot along there on the intro there, but that's okay because let's talk about roadmap for a couple minutes about where we're going. So we have basically this week and the week after break to as kind of the home stretch um, to get things going. William, you raising your hand or like? Oh, I thought you were like, I thought you were raising your hand for like a really high question. You're like, um, so what we're gonna do is like kind of looking back and doing kind of a postmortem on this class. Um, actually that's an industry term. If you read, there used to be a magazine called Game Developer, and they would do called postmortems. Basically, it's on when a game gets done and they release the game. They do these postmortems, basically where they go through and they interview all the developers and figure out what went right, what went wrong, how would you fix it, all this kind of stuff. And it's really interesting. You can still find them on the Gamma Sutra site. Game Developer Magazine doesn't exist anymore, but the Gamma Sutra site, it still has those where they basically will talk to a studio and go, what went right? They're like, oh, we went way too heavy on the art cycle. Spent way too much money on this code that we didn't end up using and all this kind of stuff. And it's really interesting. But so doing a postmortem on this class, like basically I realized that, we've spent way too much time on some of the WISE 301 stuff. I wanted to do the actual lessons on that, but in hindsight, that was a little too much there. And what it did is it cost us time to work on the Unreal stuff, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. I value the information that we got. And I think everything we've done up to this point is really important. Just as another pitch for Game Audio 2, what we are going to do is we're going to pick up and do a lot more Unreal stuff in Game Audio 2. We are going to do it this week, and we're going to spend some time on it because I want you to be exposed to it. We're going to do a deeper dig on it next semester if you want to get into this a little bit more. I'm hoping that when you see Unreal a little bit here that you're hooked, because I think Unreal is the bee's knees. It's freaking awesome. It's just, I don't know, for me, I think there's so many things that it does right, that it does better than, I won't say better, but it's just different. It's like working on, say, Ableton and Pro Tools. Well, not even that. Let's say Logic and Pro Tools, right? They're just different flavors of the same thing. And they just have different kind of workflows. And I find that Unreal is, at first I was really resistant to it, but then as I got into it, I found that it's just really cool. So, so we'll get into a little bit of that here today. So we're just going to go, actually today's a really short one because I'm going to give you the tools and you're going to go off on your own and do this. But I want to talk about that. So we're going to do Unreal for this. We're going to do intro to Unreal today. We're going to do Unreal with some, just like look at how to do audio with Unreal and a little bit of the integration stuff next class. Then we're going to go on break, and then we're going to come back from break, and we're going to do final project stuff. So I'm going to talk about final project stuff also next class. I don't expect you to do any work over break for this. I do expect you to play some games. You got to do your homework, play your video games. This is the one class where you have to if anybody's giving you a hard time for playing video games, say it's your homework, because that's what I do. Like I tell my wife that all the time. She's like, "Why are you playing games in the middle of the day?" I'm like, "This is my job." So that's what I want you doing, is doing game stuff over break, but fun game stuff. But then we come back and we'll actually we're just going to work on projects for the final break stuff. So okay, cool. Let's see what else is there. That's it for announcements. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Unreal. Too many things open here. So let's just start at the top. So Unreal Engine is the counterpart to Unity. I don't know what market share each of them have, but I think Unity I believe is quite significantly bigger. Somebody's got their mic on. Not the biggest deal, but I can hear myself talking back. So we have Unreal, and Unreal can be, it's been, obviously I spawned from Unreal Tournament from way back in the day, and I lost years of my life to that freaking game, which was so fun, but was awesome. And then I remember this is like in the early 2000s, they were talking about that basically you could license their engine. So they basically built this first-person shooter engine for their game Unreal Tournament, which again was a great game, played a lot of it. But then they ended up like not open sourcing it, but basically making it available for, sorry, where's my chat window? Basically making it for everybody to use. Nice, good. Um, but then they basically kind of did adopt the same model that Unity did, where basically it's free to work with it, and then they have licensing. So basically, like all of the software we've been working with, they take their money on the back end. So what they want you to do is they want you to get in and get hooked on it, which is awesome. But then they've also been really, just like Unity, have been pushing really hard into other markets, into the game development. But where they're really actually pushing right now is in virtual production. And I don't know, I was talking to Jordan about this the other day, but if you haven't like looked at this group on Facebook, it's this, let's see if I can find it. It's like, it swamps my feed now. This thing called Unreal Engine Virtual Production. There's this new style of video production that's happening where basically they take these giant LED walls and sometimes they have ceilings on them too. And it knows where your camera is. And then you set up you set up like whatever your scene here. And then you basically, it's like a better than a green screen because you have backfill lighting and you have you have reflections and that kind of stuff. So this is a thing that's happening, and basically it knows where your camera is, so it warps and moves the scene based off of the camera, but it's done in real time. And I don't know, I'm hooked on this thing real quick. But if you're on Facebook, check out this thing, Unreal Engine Virtual Production. You have to ask to join, but it just comes through and you can see all the crazy stuff like that they're doing. But these cameras are able to do it, and sometimes they even don't even have any world. It's only virtual, but you still take a physical camera, like like something with accelerometers, and you have like they showed this one I saw where a person had a video camera. It's like a fake mock video camera, but it had a video screen, and they're in the Unreal scene, like holding the camera in the Unreal scene, and it feels so much more organic than they do with the plan stuff. But it's wild. So basically they set up these video screens so it looks like you're there. And I mean, it's still a little bit funky, like, but give it a couple more years and it's going to be insanely good. But like they go through and they show how they do all this. This one's controlling like the lighting with their analog modular, which is, I think, is pretty rad. So they're controlling that in there. But like these are kind of the rooms that they're talking about there. So this is where I think I'm seeing a huge explosion in the use of Unreal. This doesn't really have much to do with us in terms of audio, because this isn't, well, I mean, yes, maybe it does tie into some audio if you're doing real time stuff. If you're just doing a video shoot, you can do it with post. It's gonna be your standard post stuff. But if you're doing real time, you will have to do some spatial audio and some 3D audio stuff. So maybe there's some opportunity here. I don't know. This is evolving very quickly, this technology. And this is how things are going to start being done. Like, it's just so much cheaper to shoot on a scene like this. Let's see if I can find one. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. If you want to take a look at it, it's this Unreal Engine virtual production. I just got like it swamps my feed because people put so much content out on it, but it's really neat. I don't know. I'm excited about it. Kind of got me like excited about checking Facebook again because there's actually stuff that I like looking at on there. But they're doing they're doing games, architecture, automotive, and transportation, broadcast, and live events. So people are using it for projection mapping. People are using it for like live type events. The XR stuff that we're seeing a lot, like a lot of the DJ rigs, like DJ setups are happening with using Unreal, because it's basically you superimpose your real life with your augmented real life, or with your digital life, and you mix the two of them together. And so we're seeing a lot more movement with like the digital, like DJs and stuff, film and television, training simulation. So there's so much you can do with this. So just like on Unity, but I don't know. I just think the Unreal workflow is pretty badass. So let's take a look at it real quick. I'm going to just pull it up and I'm just going to blast through this like for 2 seconds just so you can see, but then I'll explain what we're going to do with this thing. So you just use the Epic Games Launcher is how you get through it. So I don't use any of the, I don't know. Does anybody actually use the Epic? Does anybody buy games off Epic? I'm curious, like what you guys are playing on there. I use Steam. Like I'm just on Steam all the time. I don't really use Epic. I don't know.
I just use the Epic Games Launcher to play Magic Arena.
Nice. Yeah. Isn't it like, well, can you get Fortnite anywhere besides Epic Games? Like, or can you only get Fortnite on Epic? Does anybody know?
You can get it if you're on Xbox. You can get it on the, like, I think it's just a PC thing for the needing the Epic Store.
Oh, okay. Yeah. because I know, well, I mean, they had like, I don't know if you guys were watching that whole like debacle with Apple and Epic kind of went at it because of Fortnite. So basically, Fortnite is, you know, massive, massive, massive game, and so, but then it got pulled from that. But now Apple's doing their whole M1 thing, and I mean, Apple's doing their Apple thing, and I like Apple, but man, they're really like they're never going the game route, so they're just going further and further from the game direction. Anybody pick up a PS5 or Xbox yet? I'm curious. Is anybody going to?
I wish.
I know, me too. Ramon, are they sold out when you say you tried?
Yeah, it was pretty tough on when was it? On the launch day online, I know that Walmart was like releasing them like in waves, so that way
Yeah.
you could kind of have a chance, but still, like it was in my cart and then it, it sold out. So that's just how it goes. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they'll be coming in waves. Hopefully. I don't know. I was gonna pick up PS5, but I don't know. Like, I think I might. Yeah. Like Well, actually said, I think I might just keep investing in my PC. It's a bummer because some of the cool games that come out first on those platforms, you have to wait for a while. It's like hardback, softback, but you have to wait for a while for it to come out on PC. But I don't know. I just think I like having a hot shit PC just because I can upgrade it and it's incremental and stuff. So I don't know. I'm more of a computer person than a console person. But I don't know. Maybe I'll pick up. Maybe I would. The PS5s are pretty stinking sexy. I haven't really dove into the Xbox as much. So cool. Okay, so this is the launcher. So when you're in, this is just the basic Epic Games launcher, and whoa, nice. So the basically you've got the home, the store, all the Epic stuff, which yeah, I guess I haven't even looked, and I don't even know. I mean, well, Elite Dangerous. Oh, I do have Elite Dangerous. That's pretty fun, uh, but I got it through Steam. I wonder if all these games are actually done with Unreal. I don't know. You have to make it Unreal to be who's that on here? I don't know much about what's made with Unreal. But actually, do they even show what do they have? Industries. Let's see what they show, if they're showing any what's going on right now. Yeah. Oh, there's some case studies. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Anyway, let's just go in here. And so let's take a look at the Unreal Engine at the bottom. So this is how you get into it. Basically, you're going to have your, basically just kind of your splash page. You have your Learn, Marketplace, Library, Twinmotion. So Twinmotion is this rendering engine. It was a third party, but I don't know if it got absorbed into Unreal. But this is where, like, when I was talking about bizarre opportunities, I was talking to my friend who's a civil engineer, who's basically, he does CAD drawings all day. And I was like, can you export like, FBXs or that kind of stuff? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, we can bring it into Twinmotion and render this thing. So Twinmotion is basically like this super high resolution renderer. So like photorealistic rendering. And so you can actually do videos and stuff with it too. So I haven't played with it, but basically my friend is like, dude, if you could make my CAD drawings look like this, then they could land a lot. Again, we're talking millions of dollars of city dollars that they could actually land these gigs. So it's like for them to spend $10,000 to get this working is a good investment for them. So there's neat, weird opportunities with this stuff. But let's look at the library. So the library is where basically, so we're gonna look at all three of these things today, just briefly, because I'm gonna set you off on your own here in a couple minutes. But basically, the library is where you get your installations. We don't want that. You can install old ones or new ones. 4.25.4 is the most current version right now. And then here's my store. So this is like essentially the asset store. This is the equivalent of the asset store in Unity. And there's tons of stuff. One of the things that's like free for this month. I love doing this one, free for this month. This is stuff that's on sale. Oh, that's kind of cool. You can just download these things that are like sometimes like $80. Like I don't care about this. Actually, that could be pretty neat. On a log cabin, normally $30. This one looks pretty interesting though, so I'm gonna grab this one. Let's go check out. Let's buy it. $0. Cool. Place my order, and I got that. I just bought it. so for free, but it's free. But I love that we keep an eye on this one because they'll have stuff that's like on crazy, like for free, for just like on short bits of time. And so I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. They also have like they have like the same thing with like audio, right? Music and sound. Do they have sound effects? Sound effects. Look at sound. Actually, let's look at music. See what kind of music they're offering up on the store here. So again, this is another opportunity for making some bucks. Dark music tracks. Let's hear what we got. Come on. Maybe not. I don't know. Broken right now. Whatever. Let's get back to my library. And so this is going to be our this is how we get into it. So these are my projects that I have kind of running right now. And then we have the Learn tab. So the Learn tab is pretty rad. Like this is why I like Unreal better than Unity, is because the learning system is fantastic. They give you very clean and like ways of going about doing this. It's just badass. So actually, if I click on this, it's going to go to my Unreal and Learn Online, and you have to create a profile and all that, just like with anything. But as soon as I created my profile, basically here's my dashboard, and here's the things that you can learn. So you have like a content library, achievements. So basically you get little medals and you get badges as you go through the system. And so like, let's go back to dashboard. Let's do, let's go to content library, and let's say like, so what we can look at is like all these different foundations. If we want to do getting started, let's filter by getting started here. So we can look at, these are all the different, some of these are going to be courses, some are going to be learning paths. So Blueprint, Essential Concepts, these are just like really, so these are courses. And then they also have learning paths down here somewhere as well. But if I just click on a course, say like Blueprints, Essential Concepts, you go through and you actually have quizzes, just like we did with any of our other stuff, but everything's free, which is amazing. And so you can go through all of this and just get your badges. You can also go through and do these as courses, like learning paths, which I think is pretty rad. If you want to do 20 minutes or less, just learn. If you have some downtime, you want to learn something. Actually, let's just see what they've got. Creating world align textures, creating simple water. So as with almost game dev stuff, everything tends to be heavily geared towards visuals. There's very little bit of audio, but there is audio stuff, which is actually pretty cool. So let me turn off that filter. And if you look at the audio stuff, do they have just sound in here? They don't have it here, but not so much engine features, but they have like, see, where's the one I'm looking for? They have a like spatial audio in here, which is really cool. It's like, all right, well, anyway. Dynamic audio. They have another sound and space. So these are some pretty cool little courses in here. I haven't done any of these. That's on my list of things to do. But as I've mentioned at the beginning of class, I am like ridiculously busy right now. After this job in Boulder finishes, which is supposed to be before the new year, then my life gets a little bit easier. So, but the learning paths is a pretty cool one. So there's learning paths right here. Oh, where's just learning paths? It's the getting started in, oh, there it is. Getting started in Unreal Engine right here. This is the one I would recommend you do. So it's pretty rad. I've gone through, I haven't done this last one here. I need to actually get in and doing this one right here. But what I'm gonna have you guys do for before Friday, and actually you're gonna work on it today, is this one right here, your first hour with Unreal Engine. You can blast through this thing in literally an hour. And that's the project we're gonna be doing for Unreal. It's pretty awesome. So you go through and you watch a video and it's really good. Like, the quality of content is so awesome. And there's a little quiz at the end, just like the other stuff. The quiz isn't too hard. It takes just like 2 minutes to do the quiz. But this is what you're going to be turning in for your project, just like we've done it before in the past. But I just want you to get it up and running. But it goes from like, duh, okay, this is all right. This is all right. Holy crap, this is amazing. Oh my God, this is like insane. This is so hard. This is crazy. And so it goes through this whole arc in about an hour. But you see how you can go from zero to cool in a very, very short amount of time. I guess I don't even like, it's been a while since I've done that. I did it like last summer, and it's amazing. So let's get into it. Let's look at it real quick, just for a moment. Let's just launch it and take a look at how this thing runs. So they've already been, previewing UE5 with PS5, and that's where we're seeing just the insane stuff. I have VR on this computer, but every time it wants to like start my VR stuff, which is so annoying. Okay, so we can do I haven't played with these other ones, so I don't even know how to do these other ones. So we're just gonna do games. So let's go through it. So this is basically when you start a new project up, it's gonna run through this. So let's do game, and this is also why I like it, because it gives you killer templates to experiment with. So you can just do a blank. If you're making a game from scratch, you do a blank, but we can do first person or third person. Those are gonna, or top doing 2D side scrollers. So it gives you like all this framework right out of the gates. So let's do a first person. We could do third person. Third person is pretty cool too. Let's do first person. So, and here's what the other thing that I think is really neat about working with Unreal is that you don't need to code. One of the problems with Unity was that you had to learn all that C# stuff that was always kind of a pain in the ass. Well, you don't have to do any of that with Unreal. You can do the entire game with no code. It's all done with this thing called Blueprints. So Blueprints is kind of like a Max. It's a script. It's a node-based programming language. You can also do it in C++ if you wanted to, and you can actually do a combination of the two. So if I wanted, so whereas Unity is rooted in C#, Unreal is rooted in C++, and they both have their pluses and minuses for each of those. I would imagine C++ is a little bit lower level, but it's a little bit harder, but it's a little bit faster. So, but we can do Blueprint, and you never have to code anything. But there is a way you can use the combination of the two. I'm not going to change anything. This like ray tracing. This is like for the really new, really fancy schmancy video cards. So like, yeah, like the really fast stuff. Desktop. So if we want to go through like different platforms, and with starter content, so you can do with and without. So we want to say with starter content. So let's do. I will say that like these projects are pretty stinking big. So even just as I build this project out, let's go take a look at how big they are. The projects are pretty big, and also the installation of Unreal. Unreal is pretty huge. It's like many gigs. Just want to see how big that project is real quick. So this is the one I just made. Yeah, it's like almost 800 megs with nothing in it. It's just basic. So it's pretty big. So let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got basically something that looks somewhat similar to the Unity environment. I don't like some of the stuff is so like I don't like how big and clunky everything is. That's something that I like Unity better. Like it feels cartoony, or it feels like a video. It feels like a game in itself, and I don't really love that. But it's cool. I think things like where's my project preferences? Looking for my project preferences. It's been a while since I pulled this up, but basically what I wanted to do was, there it is. I want to get this thing small. I hate when this thing is big, but that's okay. Never mind. I'll deal with that later. But it's laid out a little bit different. So over here are kind of like our starting assets, and over here is going to be our inspector, where it's sorry, like our world outliner is what they call it here. It's the same thing as our project explorer in Unity. So in Unity it lives over here, in Unreal it lives over here, and then down here is our inspector. So it's just a little bit different kind of layout, but below is the same idea, where you have just kind of your file structures down here. And so so we can pull up, and it looks very similar in a very similar to Unity. But basically, just out of the gates, what's cool is just turn this on, we can press play, and we can run around and shoot stuff. But you can see it has, well, maybe, I don't know if it shows up very well on Zoom, but we have like motion blur, and it does some pretty cool stuff. It's heavy. So it's able to play just out of the gate, so you don't have to like learn how to do all this crazy stuff. You can just, let's get out of here. It's just easy to start playing out of the gate, so you don't really have to do a whole lot of stuff, which is cool. And then you can start learning and hacking things apart and playing with them. So when I click on something over here, so we have basically our hierarchy. And so yes, let's click on a cube right here. We see our location, transition, scale. So if I want to scale this thing up in one axis, I want to make it big, make it taller. And I can either I can hit the location with the translate over here, or I can do the same thing we did over here, dragging it up and down, replacing this thing. And we have all of our kind of like our materials, a lot of the same kind of components that we would use in Unity. So it looks very similar in that regard. And you can add your own stuff to this. So if I want to edit this thing, so if what I could do is I can double click on it, and there's my editor cube. So what I can do is I can add like blueprints to this thing right here. So it's add blueprint or add script. So if I want to, I can basically add, just so you can see what blueprint looks like. Yeah, that's fine. And we end up with essentially our cube right here. It's like in a separate editor right here. And this is our essentially our blueprint editor. So we can look at it, we can modify the prefab, so to speak, right here. But then we also have this thing called the event graph. And the event graph, this is how we do scripting in Unreal. So, and if we see like event begin play, event begin overlap, and event tick. This is in our scripts in C#. It's the equivalent of like this, you're on like when your script starts, it does this, and when you're on your like what is it, update, like this is the one that does every single frame. Basically, it will do this thing every frame, and you can just add like different things to happen to it, like events. So it's really cool. I'm really bad at it. I want to spend a lot more time learning how to get into blueprints, because this is a way you can get into doing a lot of game dev without having to do all the crazy C# stuff. I like C# and I like C++, but I also think that this is really intuitive and really cool way to do it. The games may not be quite as fast as they would be if they're done in C++, but excuse me, they're really accessible. So it allows non-developers to actually make games. So this is the system that the DAC students are using, and I've not heard back from them. So it's still happening, but they've just not. Maybe I'll get them to come back over break to give us a pitch on the projects they're doing, because you got to see these projects that they're working on. And if you want to get involved with some real game projects, they're doing them over at the Digital Animation Center, and this is what they're using. They're using Unreal with blueprints. So it would behoove you to get pretty good with this stuff. So you know, like I could go through and point out all the stuff here. I mean, well, we could just add. Let's just add not an empty character. So they have game objects, but they call things actors. Let's get rid of that one real quick. That one I just added. Let's delete that. I'll just hit delete. Can I get rid of it? Whatever, doesn't matter. But if we want to add like things, like we have whatever, this cone. Let's add a cone in here. And we can add physics to it. We can add mesh colliders. We can do all the same sort of stuff that you could do in any other program. And if you want to bring stuff in, if you want to start getting good at Blender or Maya or any of these other products, you can start bringing this stuff in. I should say though, like, so Maya is a Autodesk product, and you can get that for free. This is a whole other can of worms. We're not getting into visuals here, but if you want to get into doing some high-end visual stuff, you can get in. Everything from the Autodesk catalog is free for students, which is like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars of free software. But the catch is, as soon as you graduate, it's not free to you anymore. So that's essentially how the game works. Like, there's all the stats. You can go through all these things. I'm not going to go through all of that. Let's go to the build lighting only. So it's rebuilding lights. Then I keep my output log here. So I have a console here. This is once we get into the audio stuff, this is really useful. But we'll do that next class. Building my light. Let's make computers hurt right now. I'm using a lot of CPU right now. Let's finish out. What it's doing is it's called baking your lighting in, and what it does is it knows it has to do all this math ahead of time to pre-render how the lighting is going to look. Some of this newer stuff with the ray tracing, the RTX series from NVIDIA, they're doing real-time ray tracing, but on the older systems, you have to bake in your ray tracing, so it doesn't actually have ray tracing in there in real time. You have to bake it in, and so it's like doing offline processing of your plugins in DAW instead of doing it real time. That's actually a pretty good analogy. Okay, so the lighting is done in there, and we're good to go. So we can build for different platforms, and you can set that up in your project preferences. But yeah, that's pretty much how we go about doing this. So what I'm going to have you guys do is I want you to get started on this project. Or actually, let me go over to Canvas. I'll show you what's going on here. So under assignments, you have the project that's going to be, where did it go? Oh, it's in attendance. It's in the wrong project. It's right here. First hour with Unreal. Click on that. So you got your first hour with Unreal Engine. Click on that. It's going to pull up this thing right here. What I want you to do is I want you to go through and do this video series. It literally takes about an hour. So, we're already at 10:15 right now. So, I would say like spend about half, if you want to spend, I mean, you can do this all in one sitting if you have the time to do it right now. But I would say spend the time, maybe do half of it now, half of it later, or even better, do a couple of the videos and then actually experiment with it. They basically would go through and they're like, okay, run around and experiment with this and build the scene out. And you'll find out how quickly you can make an insanely cool scene with some experimentation. So yes, you can follow through this thing and you can blast this through this and be done in an hour and you're done. But if you actually want to learn this stuff, I would spend a little bit more time with it. So, and also said this, it's part of a larger introductory series called Getting Started with Unreal Engine. So if you click on that one, that'll pull you to this entire series of where you can go through all of this stuff. And I've gone through, like I said, 75% of this thing. The first one, this guy, the one that I'm asking you to do, is by far the best. I don't really remember these ones. I didn't love this one. I thought it was okay. But I don't really remember it as well. So I'm just going to recommend you doing this one right here. We have an hour with this one, and that'll get us up and running just so you're familiar with it. What we're going to do next class is we're going to dive in and start dealing with the audio systems, and we're going to look at how to integrate Wwise, because they went through some pretty significant changes. All the tutorials and the videos out there on the interwebs for Wwise are pretty much wrong. They don't work anymore. And so anything that's on 4.25, everything changed with the Wwise stuff. So it got completely a lot easier. But we do see that if we're in our Wwise launcher here, we can see that if I look at my Wwise launcher, my Unreal Engine, it has all of my Unreal ones. So just the one that we just made right now, Unreal demo class. So I can just integrate Wwise into that project. Done. Pretty easy. I've not tried Fmod in Unreal yet. So that's something that's on the queue to try out. But yeah, so that's all we're really going to do for right now. So it's 10:15. What I want you guys to do is I'm going to stick around. I'll be on the computer here sitting at my station. So if you have any issues like installing or anything like that, but it takes a while to get things downloaded, installed, up and running and going. But I want you to spend this dedicated time to do that right now and run through this here. Because basically for me to try and teach you all this stuff, he does a far better job when you're trying to like watch and pause and do it and watch and pause and do it, because again, watching me just fart around with Unreal doesn't really help you. So yeah, so I guess that's what we're going to be doing right now. So are there any questions what I'm asking you to do? Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sign off right now. Like I said, I'm gonna still be sitting here. I'm expecting this is due by Friday by midnight, but that's like going into Thanksgiving break. So just sit down and do it now. You've got like at least get a good chunk of it done. You get downloaded, installed, fart around with it, go through some of the tutorials, get kind of familiar with how that workflow, how it works. It's going to be a little bit of a brain twist because if you're used to working in Unity, this is a little bit different. But it's pretty awesome. So anyway, I'll be here sitting at my machine for the next at least 40 like probably 45 minutes. So if you if you want to chat well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off on this Zoom call. I'll kick everybody out. Then I'm going to start the Zoom call again. So if you want to hop back on, if you have questions or something like that, let me know. And then I'll just be sitting here and we can chat if you run any snags. But Oh, yeah. I guess I'll just do that. So I'll be on Zoom on this class for the next 45 minutes. But yeah, I guess other than that, I mean, let's go ahead and let me stop this and let me do a quick attendance. Cool. All right. So that's what we're gonna be doing for the next half hour, because it's far better than I could do it, and than just watching me do this stuff. So cool. All right. Well, let's sign off. If you have any questions, I'll be here.